Welcome back to another recording of one of our Overwatch 2 playtests that occurred in Hawaii during the playoffs. Mitch Leslie here, joined by Matthew Morello, your regularly scheduled commentators. And again, we have the San Francisco Shock playing up against the Dallas Fuel, this time on the map of New York.
You're the only one outside of my grandmother who calls me Matthew. But
yeah. Well, now everyone else will too.
Yeah, it's a you know, an old Italian woman New York thing, you know, and seeing New York created in Overwatch 2, it looks so good. I remember when we did the PvP live stream and we showed this one off, and we saw a little bit about it at BlizzCon Line. I could not wait to see, you know, players, you know, get a chance with this map, as you know, the art here just looks tremendous all the way through. They really kind of captured the essence of New York City and put it in a much more manageable space.
Yes, absolutely. Much of the vibrance still present here, and it's really fun just to see a lot of the little Easter eggs that have been dropped in here. So keep your eyes peeled for those. Now, let us not forget, this is a hybrid map, Matthew.
Yes, so the red team, which will be some of the players from the Dallas Fuel, it's actually all players from the Dallas Fuel, they'll be on offense. So they'll have to take the point then will unlock a payload, and it'll kind of work a lot like how, you know, with Escort maps is Super, he's actually going to get DMAC'd really early, and that's going to allow Sparkle to take this high ground here through the train.
Yeah, this train cart forms a bit of an overpass on this map, and Sparkle was hoping to get some work done,
dude,
but you're dealing with the stone cold killer Violet. He gets rid of both the enemy DPSs.
Yeah, the Shock messes around putting you know, Violet on DPS during the season. They're not gonna have to do that anymore. You know, right there on the Batiste, right? He's got a Hanzo into 76 coming through that train, and he's able to just take them out, you know, with the help of that immortality field. Is Hanbin on the Reinhardt. You can see now they're actually trying to play more for this train, right? Try and get the Hanzo in the 76 up in here to do some damage.
To them, it seems preferable to playing inside the choke, and this is a different look for Super. He's actually playing the Diva. Not normally his selection in Overwatch 1, but he's still making it look pretty darn good. As so far, the Dallas Fuel are being denied this little train cart overpass. Now, maybe they'll think about walking under. We'll see. So far, though, it's a pretty brutal choke to get through.
You can hear Ash's gun, right, when she shoots from underneath the bridge. Just the sound's just so much more real. It feels like more of the impact.
It's more immersive,
yeah,
right?
It is. Super's going to be in a tough spot here, but the reason you're playing the Diva on defense is you want to control this high ground, right? And with potentially the defense matrix, this will be a Bob used by Glister, so this is going to buy the Shock some more time to stabilize. But you know, Diva, you're able to control some of this train car, and then also if players get weak, you have the mobility to get up and finish them off.
Transitioning between the high and low ground quickly is pretty important. And look at this. Hanbin goes ahead of the amplification matrix thrown down by Fielder and eats up some of the oncoming damage. Drops down to the low ground. He's done a heck of a lot of work here. He'll be desuited, but the Dallas Fuel here, they've moved to the point. You can see that's denoted by that sort of that blue strip around it. And again, like any hybrid map, it's 3 ticks, and once they have them, they'll access a payload. Dragon Strike thrown in, I guess, the presumed direction of San Francisco coming out, but that's 4 players going to be hit with that EMP. Remember, initially they'll lose the use of their abilities, but it's the damage amplification for Sombra after the fact it's so deadly. Ty's able to find 1 kill, but Sparkle turns around and eliminates him instantly. It looks like some stabilization here from the Shock.
Yeah, it's that EMP now, right? It does percent health damage to players around, you know, 40% of the current health, and then also it marks them, right? So the Sombra's able to get more damage down. Tayo, in a traditional game, right, Overwatch 1, where the hack takes the abilities offline forever, that's a nice kill there by Tayo to finish off Fielder. I know potentially the Soldier 76 up at the high ground would have not been able to use that tac visor to defend the team, but that time he was. It still wasn't enough to turn the fight, though.
No Fielder, and still the Fuel want to go forward here. Sound barrier from Jex is what sets them up, but there's going to be a Bob used defensively by Glister. Hanbin's Wrecking Ball, again, he still favors the mobility of that hero, and he's found Violet, who backs right up onto a mini health pack and is able to stay alive now, thanks to that, plus his own healing. He's hit with a pile driver, gets a Harmony Orb from his teammate, and that forces the immortality field of Violet, which is removed, and Fielder gets him at long range.
And you see Violet on the Batiste, even to protect himself pretty well. Is this going to be a backup? Oh no!
Perhaps the Shock are so taken in by the ambience, Matthew, that they just are not aware of what Doha's doing. Either way, look, we see it in Overwatch League. It's fitting that it occurs here. Payload's on the move.
Yes, back half not paying attention, and Doha being sneaky. Is that's going to be an EMP as well, as FD God using the Valkyrie just trying to keep everybody alive, not going to be able to do so. Sombra's role now is much different than it was in Overwatch 1. Overwatch 1, she was really used for a lot of like scouting and information from the DPS perspective, right? And trying to set up other teammates to pick up the kills.
Focused.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where now her kit not changed completely, but just changed enough in tune to be more of like an assassin. How she was able to be.
Yeah, getting the extra damage on hacked targets, plus the EMP doing % health damage, which is huge against teams with tanks in that front line being affected by it. Doha there gets out after there's a hack on Super.
And something you notice just by kind of watching and observing the game thus far is that's a really nice pulse bomb there from Callisto. I believe it actually even does some damage on Ejecta. The ultimates, right? In Overwatch 1, you play, and a lot of the team fights are just a lot decided by ultimates, right? Both teams just using 2-3 ultimates in a fight, and you always seem to have some up. Right now, with how Overwatch 2 looks here, and the current tuning here in this alpha, it's not there's more opportunity to make plays without ultimates, but then it also obviously makes the impact of when you use that ultimate stronger and more impactful.
Absolutely. I mean, gaining less ultimate charge while firing on tanks definitely is
and one less tank.
Dissuade people from doing that. Super. Gonna get a remake opportunity here, and quickly Sparkle had to get out. He was at risk of being hacked, and even for a split second not being able to recall would have been the difference between being alive, getting back to your team, and falling. 5 seconds remain in the round now, but the fuel are on the cart, so we will have an overtime. EMP connects there. It's a nice one from Doha, and re-hack there on FD God to make it so there's no CC from the Brig, and the cart's getting close to the checkpoint.
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the best Sombras we have in the Overwatch League, so you fully expect him to be able to pick up the reworked version of Sombra and really start to master it early on. Nice pulse bomb eat there from Super. Let's see if they can finish it off. Yeah, nice sleep as well, so they're going to take out Sparkle.
Tayo here with the Hanzo. This next part of the map is a little bit twisty and turny, so having a Sonic arrow here just to scout out some of these movements in advance like that, very helpful now, as Tayo can be aware of exactly where Fielder was waiting. Perfect execution of that information.
Look around the room here, towards this last stage of the map. There are so many different ways you can attack this, right? You see the way that Hanbin's taking right now, kind of attacking this high ground. There's even more verticality here in the back. It's so open, and I think that's something that they've talked about, going into Overwatch 2, right? Is like, more opportunity to flank, more opportunity to make plays. The maps kind of aid to that as well.
So the rally quote-unquote armor there is actually green health, as was the adaptive shield of Hanbin when he dropped in there on the wrecking ball. So, all of those sort of decaying extra health effects have been sort of, united under sort of just being green health in this case. Sound barrier, obviously, in much the same vein. Here's the Transcendence coming out from Fielder, and there's an EMP, so bam. Large amount of early % damage done means Violet is extremely squishy, and Sparkle can play from a relatively safe distance here now, as we're going to be into yet another overtime with the Dallas Fuel still looking pretty comfortable, forcing the defenders back into their spawn behind Sparkle, the tip of the spear.
Yeah, no, the Sombra obviously can put down extra damage, but the hack also allows Sparkle to see players through the walls for a period of time, right? So he's able to track really nicely on the 76. They're going to have the Nano Boost Super to get to the payload just to stop it from going in.
And look, the Fuel respect this for the most part, but the Minefield has dropped down now, and Super's going to be desuited as a result. And, well, the Tactical Visor hits that much harder when there is no mitigation in the form of Defense Matrix. Sparkle just deals death from the back line now, and that Dragon Strike might dissuade the Fuel to a degree, but Hanbin's so durable, he rolls straight on through of it. Those last few mines disappear, but the Dallas Fuel finish the match.
Well, so they don't have any time remaining, right? So we'll see when the Shock go on their offense, what they decide to do. Maybe they play for that high ground just like Dallas did. But the goal line here for the Shock is to complete the map and get us into overtime. Now that's what they would need to do to extend this game.
Couple different looks there, of course, in terms of compositions, right? We started off with sort of the more dive-centric setup as both teams were playing the Diva, trying to control the train cart overpass. Switched it up a little bit there, of course, as we got to see some different tanks. The Hanzo came out. The Sombra was there as well. Again, definitely a feeling of, I don't know, greater lethality from your DPS here. And that might just be you know, because there's one less tank to look at. They sound nastier and they definitely hit hard.
I mean, also more lethality from the supports, right? You know, the game kind of kicked off with Violet being able to pick up both damage dealers, you know, from the Dallas Fuel while inside of the train car while he's playing the Batiste. So the Batiste typically, you know, even in you know, Overwatch 1, a more offensive-minded support, but still being able to kind of do damage and I think, you know, be a force offensively from every position, I think is really important.
So again, as you can see up there, the map finished. 3 checkpoints for the Dallas Fuel. San Francisco, again, if you got to see our Dorado playtest, you might have seen some hijinks at the start of the round. We might have those once more here as the shocker out of the gates here. Again, they have a Symmetra, but this is probably uncharted territory for them. So knowing how to get value out of the Symmetra is probably not all that clear to them off the rip.
2 very different comps, though, where the Shock, they're trying to set up these sim turrets and play around this Reinhardt in the Torbjorn. Does not look to be working out here as, you know, the Doha on the Echo able to get to the high ground. They get very difficult for the Shock to get anything going.
Uncharted territory for some, but Doha looks extremely at home on the Echo, as usual. I mean, Dallas are one of the teams that, you know, rotated both their DPS players through playing Echo at times. So, still have the Reinhardt from... Okay, super switching to the Roadhog here.
They were able to make a play, right, through the initial choke and try and...
they made a TP play, right? Yeah. But they got burnt down by that Echo.
Yeah, but you know, they were able to get positioned inside of the store to the left, and maybe if they're able to live there a little bit longer, they'll get healed up. They would have been in a spot to make a play. Nice hook there from Super. And it's really Roadhog's strength is to be able to get these early picks.
I mean, Super in the 2020 Grand Finals run got some notoriety on that Roadhog as he was in vogue at the time. Very fitting to see him on it here. Pile driver attempt here. That knocks up FD God, but again, it's Doha with that focusing beam from the skies that's been a little bit of an issue. From the ground, though, Glister's able to burn Jexa down, so no Resurrect available, and Doha chooses to copy Batiste. He respects Violet's damage potential and wants some of that for himself.
Look, Violet will challenge anybody, right? He hears the Ant Matrix goes down, he drops his own. It's not going to work out for him. But look at this. They have not been able to deal with Fielder up on the high ground. That's going to be a sleep there on the Super, and he's getting an opportunity to hit a big biotic grenade.
Okay, he has to touch, though. There's no choice but to drop onto the point. Tayo, very low. Fielder's going to be able to finish him off on his own, and Super's in deep trouble. He can't take a breather in time. And yeah, the reinforcements came at just the right time, but Fielder's Ana remains to be
nutty play. I mean, he's able to stay up there, kind of heal his team as they're defending. You know, prevents the Shock from actually taking the point, right? Very close, 96%. Gets a sleep onto the tank, drops down, biotic grenade. He's able to pick up a kill. I mean, that is a huge game-changing play from Urana there on the high ground.
Glister tries to go for a bit of a back cap, or at least tries to draw some attention. That pulse bomb goes awry. Now Super, again, he knows he doesn't give a lot of ult percent, but he can still get eliminated. He's able to do that though to Doha, and now he's looking for the Mercy. This is a one-man army right now. Straight onto the point. Bob used defensively, but he'll be picked up awful quick too.
And even though that big biotic grenade came through from Fielder again, they were able to just, you know, stay inside of the train car, you know, get cover, wait for it to wear off, and that's when Super's able to go out and use his pick potential to open things up, and he's able to get 2 straight away. Glister is taking some damage, you know, from another player in the distance, and you're able to get those 3 kills and unlock the payload.
Again, quite the vibrant payload now.
Look at some of the high ground they can play from on offense right away, right?
Yeah, look at how quickly they want to establish that, especially with a Soldier 76 here. Super doesn't really have much need for it. He wants to try and go forward here, but all of the Fuel are really trying to hold very close together and get value out of Ash here. Tayo wants a good vantage point to make this tactical visor work, but he's being harassed by the Wrecking Ball. He'll go for it now.
Yeah, this is the attack visor here is the Shock. They want to push this payload. You know, just like in Overwatch, you know, a lot of the maps have these difficult chokes at times to get through. This looks like it's going to be one on New York trying to get through this underpass. So they invest some ultimates. They get through the underpass with the cart. And now what do, though? They don't really have much outside of this Pulse Bomb and the Ant Matrix. They got to get good use of these ultimates.
And remember, the payload is very close to the checkpoint, right? It's just, you know, a right turn at Albuquerque and they're there. Okay, wow, nice pile driver. That's ridiculous. 3 players hit by the pile driver and into the minefield immediately. Hanbin's going to be beaming after that one, but so is Doha. Still controlling that higher ground on the Echo, and Super I don't know if he's trying to, you know, do a Banksy impression here or try and save the round. He's got a minute and 10 seconds.
He's on the flank. He's on the sneak.
I mean, which one? Fielder? That's a pretty good target.
He'll take anyone.
Hey, I mean, you get rid of the biotic grenade source. You don't find any more than that, though. The cart does push up a little bit,
but look at this.
Doha finds the kill on
Look
Super.
at the position it forces them into. You know, the Dallas Fuel now underneath in the underpass. They have to use a duplicate. They're not going to get anything for it, but man, Doha with some help of Sparkle finishes off Tayo pretty quick.
His duplicate was so short-lived, he's immediately knocked out of that. So it barely has any time to respond. Violet in mid-air is able to avoid the focusing beam, and Hanbin works him down. That cart, though, is still not moving. The fire truck still looms closely to this checkpoint, and we're under 30 seconds left. The Shock have to dig a little deeper.
And Dallas has this rally. They've done a great job of kind of conserving their ultimates and playing around them.
His rally.
Getting good use of them.
And that green health being doled out to anybody in the vicinity here, and FD God can't quite escape. That is a very angry Brigitte. It's a power driver on the higher ground for Super, and it allows Fighter to secure the kill on Sparkle, but there's still 4 players up here for the Dallas Fuel, and they're not budging from the cart. Great whip shot there to knock the Wrecking Ball back, but Super's still able to trigger overtime.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, though, for the Shock, as Dallas really, you know, dominating here on the defensive side of things. And, oh, FD God, he'll jump on and get a touch. It just looked like it when it was about to be over.
And there it is, overtime, getting real close here. Tough to touch the cart with the Brigand. Violet won't be able to drop down. Our first competitive play test of New York goes to the Dallas Fuel. Convincing win.
Corners, map angles,
like
often people going for cheeky flanks and stuff. Yeah, Dion loves this.
Yeah, they get to use the environment a lot more. It's a bit more tactical. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is great.
So it kind of, you know, that was one of the first things that came out of our original playtesting, and we were just like, this is a really good direction. I mean, like I mentioned, there's like, you know, as a designer, you sort of have to look past the immediate like problems in front of you and like, okay, we could fix those. Like, I think we can address, you know, some of the like tank imbalances and healing issues and all kinds of other stuff. But at the heart of this is really cool, and so that's really what we've been focusing on and working through these problems.
I think something that's really interesting about that too is that the gameplay is more fluid than it was before.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times in Overwatch you get these really hard battle lines that get drawn between the two teams, and there's just less damage incoming, and so you're able to kind of move around a little bit more, and you'll see it here a lot of times. The chokes aren't as hard of a space to get through. There's still a choke in the map and you still have to work at it, but there can be a lot more like pushing through and pulling back on the choke, and it's something that I'm like personally really excited about.
Yeah, I was going to say, how has the 5v5 move affected map design? I feel like it kind of has to have a huge impact on, you know, what you guys are able to do, create different, you know, speaking about like players being able to take more control of the game, right? You know, creating more flanking routes, you know, more opportunity for, you know, the Ashe to go to the side, get a pick, and open things up for a team.
Yeah, there's a lot more opportunity for players to do that. But at the same time, when you go for a flank, you're not leaving 5 players behind. You're leaving 4 players behind. And so you kind of have to be weighing some of these decisions in your head. The game is just as strategic as it was before, if not more so, because of the individual ability for players to have such a large impact on the match. I think for map design, we've always been really careful to make spaces that feel good just for one hero. And sometimes we might favor particular heroes in different areas, but because of that, because we're able to make a space that kind of feels good for Reaper or a space that feels good for Pharah, I think that we'll still be able to play 5v5 on all of the original catalog of Overwatch maps as well.
Right.
That is a awesome payload, Dion, by the way.
You know, we've always, in the artwork of the maps, we've always placed what we consider cover objects. It just feels now with the 5v5, players will take advantage of that more. You know, even the previous maps, we planned cover objects to help protect players. Now with 5v5, they're even more effective, these artistic choices.
It's such a great point too, because we have started placing a little bit more cover in our maps. And if you go back to some of the old maps, like if you look at King's Row, that middle section, that street section of King's Row, there's one piece of cover in that entire section.
Yes.
It's just corners of buildings is what you're using.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think you can kind of see it here, even with stuff like that. I know the taxis here in the streets. You have the little kind of windows, the pillar to hide behind in the middle. There's a route through the subway. There's so many different kind of angles you can take. Something we saw at BlizzCon Line was the 2 Fire Strike, charge, cancel Reinhardt. I noticed something before, Jeff, when we were on with Winston. My Winston on live not able to shoot at range. Can you explain that to us a little bit?
So yeah, I was wondering if people picked up on that. So we were first watching Winston there. This is an example of some of the tank changes we're talking about in regards to 5v5, but also a larger change we're talking about making tanks a lot more aggressive, be able to be a little more hybridy on the damage side and less just raw protection. So on Winston's side, he's ulting right now, unfortunately. You can't see it, but he can't do it while he's ulting. But his alternate fire there, which he's doing right now, there it is. You can charge up like a condensed blast of lightning from his gun and fire it off as a single sort of like blast attack at longer range. And so he actually, the charge up is kind of interesting with it for him because you could do it while you're leaping. And so there's like theoretically more burst combos you can do where you're jumping on top of somebody, charging up in the air, and burst, release it right before you land on them, and then you get the stomp damage too, and you can shock them or do a quick melee combo. It's a lot more interesting things. On top of the fact that, with some players know a lot of times you shock somebody, they're getting away, you think you can finish them, and they just fair boost away, or somebody just barely gets away. You get that extra alternate fire shot to try to take him out on the way. And it's actually interesting playing against him now because you now are cognizant of that. So sometimes you're leaving a little earlier, like, well, I'm going to get blasted probably if I just run away. So I have to be able to survive that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the decisions all Winston players face. It's like, okay, I've jumped on this player, I've gotten them weak. I can either now get out of my bubble and try to finish them off, or just kind of hope a teammate does. But now giving him, I think it kind of goes back to more like that player, agency that you were talking about, being able to kind of take over the game, being able to finish it off. The nano boosted Ryan, this will never get old. Just seeing Reinhardt nano boosted, just swinging. I'm sure it makes the fans out there happy that that was a Dragon Blade ulting Genji he was able to take out. It's kind of the bane of existence of a lot of people. But this looks like, I guess, the second checkpoint, right? So this will unlock the interior
of Grand Central Station.
Oh, this is awesome. So it goes in. So the payload kind of goes inside of the station and kind of curves around, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And you can see the payload is driven by an Omnic, who is a little Easter egg to our production director on the team. Our executive producer.
So he got a name.
Yes, Chaco.
He's gonna be a fan favorite. Oh, he's even got it on the back. I didn't realize. I thought it was like an unofficial name. Like, oh yeah, Chaco. No, he's got the suit.
Our executive producer said he's helped us out a lot, and it was only fitting. He has
he's lived in New York as well, so he helped out a lot on this map.
So,
and we have countless debates about the right type of pizza with him as well.
Yes, right.
Well, yeah, I mean, New York style pizza is the dominant pizza. I believe it's the water, but that is probably for a different stream.
Yeah, do you really want to get into this?
My thoughts on the water in New York creating the better pizza dough. You also notice, at least I noticed, the new sounds, especially when Ash shoots. That is something that it was discussed at BlizzCon Line, but I think it's different to kind of see it in action and also to see all of the other players at the same time with those audio changes. It just makes the game feel even more realistic.
Yeah, the sounds can get really punchy, and it just feels good to hold the trigger down with these different heroes. But you also get more information from it. So we've spent a lot of time not just developing what these sounds are, but how they play in different environments. So we've kind of upgraded the entire sound system across the game. So let's say when that Ash is in a side room firing from that room, you really kind of understand where they're at and what type of environment that they're in better than you did before. And then you can kind of take that information and make different decisions or additional decisions because of it.
All right, so we got a map complete from the offense here. Not bad. not bad in their first go. The players are so competitive. I have to say this to the stream that we were like, yeah, this is fun. Like everybody have a great time, and then everyone's like, put your SR in the chat. We're gonna make balanced teams. Like who's playing what? It's just I feel like it's just the nature of Overwatch, right? Like it always starts off, yeah, let's play for fun, and then you lose a game. You're like, all right, like everybody pick it up. Like let's change things.
It's like that meme when you're playing, relaxing in your chair, and then you lose, and you lean forward, get a little more, get the game winning posture.
It's those nights of ranked where you lose like 2, and you're like, you win 1, and then you're like, all right, play to lose, and then you lose a few more, and then the next thing you know, you wake up, and you're like, well, why'd I do that? Like 500 SR down the drain. That's so this will be an opportunity to see like Roadhog has a solo tank coming in for the offensive side here. I feel like he's just gonna be even on live, right? He just takes up so much space, Jeff. Like, and he takes up space not with a shield, but like just his body. As I say that, we have a Zarya swap. But talk to me a little bit about like the thoughts on how like the Roadhogs of the world, Divas, even Zarya. I know there's some interesting stuff with Zarya as a solo tank.
Yeah, so like I said before, a lot of this is still work in progress. We're still sort of addressing hero by hero. But like because once we started going to one tank, it was sort of the big question was like, kind of what direction are we pushing tanks now? We're trying to make Roadhog, a lot more static defensively and have, big barriers or something to protect his team, or do we want more the opposite? We're like to take the Reinhardts and the Rissas and Sigmas and actually give them some more aggression and be a little more like Roadhog and Diva. And so we definitely opted for that latter route after playing, because it's like, not only is it just more fun to have that kind of extra speed and aggression, but a lot of what people had a lot of comments on in the past, when the metas get too full of barriers and shields, and honestly even sometimes when there's just the one Orisa blocking you with just the chain shields, and it's just like people had comments like, oh, I feel like I'm shooting shields all the time, like we were definitely hearing all that, and you could see some of the balance changes we made in the past in the live game. I've been trying to address this, but once we got into this situation where we're like, oh, this is sort of an opportunity actually here to reduce a lot of these effects, and we still want them to be there and present and be important, and you can still block huge abilities. They still have a decent amount of health, but less than they had before. But then in response to that, you can see Reinhardt here. He hit the wall right there. He didn't cancel it, but you can cancel your charge, and you can get two fire strikes. So the canceling charge is one of those like sneaky things that seems like to some people might be kind of a minor change, but it almost like completely changes how he plays in a lot of ways. It's actually really fun because you can, it has a really fast recovery when you cancel, so you can like charge up to a group and then cancel and immediately ult and just like knock everyone down. So the fact that you can even do that is its own now like sort of mini game that people play where you can kind of bluff with it. If people know you have your ult or think you have your ult, you can just charge right at them, and they're trying not to get stunned. Like they don't want to fight you necessarily like normally because they don't want to get earth shattered. So sometimes you can like bluff people and are running for cover and you didn't even have it, or you save it or something. So, and it also just allows him to get in there and be more aggressive without sacrificing his health bar.
Yeah, it just sounds like another change, almost like how you kind of mentioned like stuff like that Winston combo, kind of as you're playing and testing and seeing all these different things. Like where the Winston combo, you can load up that secondary fire, come to, like get the jump damage, land on somebody, take them out. Like now you kind of have like this like little meta game with like Reinhardt play, right, where now you kind of have like this another layer of canceling the charge, being able to I remember there was one clip, I think, from BlizzCon Online and just like a trailer where he charges towards a team, cancels, and then shatters them all. Being able to make plays like that just seems so sick.
He's also got the ability to control his charge more, so you can actually turn around corners more.
Oh yeah.
So the charge, while you can cancel, it's also more aggressive and it's more versatile. I think something else that's really interesting. If you look at if people have noticed what's happening with Zarya, is she has 2 charges to her bubble now.
Oh, but they share charges is the trick. It's actually what we playtested in the April Fool's patch. So as people probably noted, like some of those changes a lot of them were just silly, kind of fun, like permanently flying Sigma. But there were some changes we threw in there. I was like, let's see how people react to this. I'm curious what people think. Like maybe this is something we could try. And the Zarya bubbles is one of those things. So.
Aaron,
it's something we just recently kind of put in,
right?
Oh yeah.
it took me a while to get used to the new changes, but once I really dug in and settled with these changes, I realized it's how I always wanted to play Reinhardt this way, basically.
Yeah.
You know, the charge in and
Yeah, we were
smash
joking about that the other day, where I'm like, yeah, like the canceling the charge just feels so right that
Yeah.
But you're so like trained to kind of how it is, like where you're just charging into walls,
Right.
that I was like, wait, I don't have to do this anymore.
No.
Like I can just go. Like it's such like a great quality of life change.
Yeah.
Yeah, something
also
else
worth
I
noting-
think that's
go on.
really interesting here is this, like, this fight's been going on for a while. Neither tank has fallen. And the
yeah.
support had been doing such a good job at keeping the tanks up, because there's only one of them that they have to actually focus on. And the fights feel really, really good being the tank player now. Like, the amount of times you get into this situation where it feels hopeless. You're low on health. There's a bunch of the enemy players focusing on you, and you're able to still come out of it. It feels so incredibly good, and you feel really powerful.
Yeah, it's I think that has to be something that you guys have kind of gotten in feedback, that from a support's point of view, you're able to dump resources into just one tank, and that also probably frees you up to do a little bit of other stuff, right? Where Batiste can do a little bit more damage. You know, Zen, you can kind of orb the tank and then focus on the damage. That probably has to be way easier in supports now.
For sure. Yeah, we gotten a lot of feedback from support players that it's a lot easier to focus, and a lot of times you almost have this like communication between the two support players, and you know, you have like Mercy's like, I'm just going to be, you know, on tank duty and just be on tank basically the whole time, and you have like a Lucio or something like that just to spot heal everybody else and you can speed everybody up. But there's other strats, like sometimes we've seen people go too big heal, you know, main healers essentially, and try to just focus so hard on their tank that even with like Discord orb on them, it's just hard to kill them. So that's going to be an interesting strat too. So I'm not even sure like what their quote-unquote meta is entirely yet, especially because we're changing things all the time. I guess it's pretty hard for them to settle, but
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
This Zen UI is new.
Oh yeah.
It actually looks really cool. This is something obviously that's incredibly new. I think on live, like it's kind of displayed on the right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
there's
generally looking through this.
Oh,
on.
go ahead. Sorry, Jeff.
I was saying we're generally looking at anywhere we can improve hero-specific UI stuff like this, and we felt like this could use, you know, a big update and it'd be a lot more readable.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm most excited about with the healer UI is it's not just on Zen, but it's on Mercy also. You see the portrait of the player that you're healing, and so it's just a lot easier to kind of figure out who you've got instead of just using something like a nameplate, you know. And
Yeah, and it's not off to the side, right? It's like center screen, so you're
Yep.
able to still kind of focus down the middle.
yeah, and you can see his Discord is down there as well. So you have like Harmony and Discord orbs are kind of both shown on each side of the ult at the bottom of the screen.
We have an overtime here. I can imagine the comms are. Everybody's starting to get pretty sweaty now. We get towards the end of the map. So this has really been, I gotta say, for you guys probably, this is probably awesome to see, like the game actually being, it's one thing I think to play, but now to like observe and be able to watch, and obviously, you know, the people you guys work with every day, this has to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is. We've been playing it in this state for a long time too, and it's always so tough to play a game a certain way at work and then go home and it operates in a totally different way, and you're playing with people online and you can't help but think, like, if only you knew
Right.
what I was playing, you know.
Hello everybody, Mitch Leslie here with Matthew Morello, bringing you yet another of our collection of Overwatch 2 playtests shot during the 2021 playoffs match. We've got Dorado when it's daytime.
Yes, and for the blue team, we have some of the members of the San Francisco Shock, and for the red team, it'll be some of the members from the Dallas Fuel. They were able to play an early version of Overwatch 2. As you see right now, Dorado may look a little bit different to you guys. Well, that's because it's at the day. And you see kind of I believe this was used in like one of their, like a mission or something like that early on, or there was some kind of game you could play this, but you couldn't play it in multiplayer. But obviously the game's changed with Overwatch 2 now, and it'll be the blue team, the Shock, on defense to kick things off.
Yeah, well, of course, this is a payload map, an escort map, rather. So, well, you know, with the payload starting outside of the attacker's spawn, they're going to have to escort it through the first point, which is probably one of the most treacherous parts of this map, or at least it was in Overwatch 1 gameplay. You'll see the Shock already considering to set up on the high ground here, and Super's going to drop down and be quite the nuisance here. So Winston play from both sides. At this time, we've already been teased Winston's sort of a slight tweak to him in terms of a longer range capacity, Matt.
Yes, he's got that alternate fire that shoots at a little bit longer range, and obviously with the Sombra rework that is in, you see the constant hacks there from Glister on the high ground. Hanbin doesn't lose his abilities, just loses them for 1 second, but takes some extra damage from Glister and co. But see, they're able to, just like in the Overwatch League, support Violet on the high ground, and he's able to get some kills early.
Yeah, it's the Discord orb that makes it pretty tough for the Winston to stick around there. Hanbin probably knew exactly what he was walking into. So it's a false start here for this Dallas Fuel squad, and they'll be back. Of course, Sparkle on the trace is always going to be a threat. Here's another dive in. This one looks a little bit better as Sparkle's able to eliminate Violet, and now he's looking for more targets. Look at the Biotic Grenade connection there on towards Tayo, crucially preventing him healing from that Biotic Field.
And you can see this looks like a kind of classic Overwatch, right? Where you had that fast, aggressive dive type of play style coming out from the Dallas Fuel players on that red team, where you still have that teamwork, that fast pace, and they're able to go right in. That time make a play for Violet as he switches right off the Zen now, goes over to Batiste.
Super backs up there. He looks like he got caught a little bit too far ahead, and Hanbin's going to go straight over the top, landing on Glister immediately. FD God has to use a defensive Biotic Grenade to keep himself alive, and Hanbin quickly gets out, but Sparkle is on the hunt in the back line. Payload still coming up from the choke here, and here's the Tracer. This could be nasty. Pulse Bomb available, but Sparkle may not need it.
Yes, I mean, he's developed into one of the better Tracers, throughout the season this year. But 3 kills for the Shock as they're going to make their way back onto the payload to try and play some defense, and looks like they're going to get it here. So you're going to see a hold now. So you have Tayo switching over to the Soldier 76. Soldier at the beginning of Overwatch, right, Mitch, he got a ton of play, and then as time went on, fell a little bit out. But I think in this new world of 5v5, right, where there's more space and more opportunity to make plays, that you can kind of use him as like a flanking type of, tracer with a little bit more long-range capability.
And obviously the heavy pulse rifle gets a revamped sound as well. Sounds vastly different, and it's environmentally specific as well. Here he goes. Nanoblade here for Doha, going to drive straight on in. I think he lost sight of FD God for a moment there, but he's able to follow him up and find 2 quick ones. The Nano actually went over towards Super here, but he's not able to do too much to stop the march of the Dallas Field, and that's an Immortality Field removed. Sparkle deals with Violet quickly.
Yeah, and you'll see the payload making its way towards that first checkpoint. This would unlock the second part of the map and more time. So see that ding, that'll be the first point there scored. And they'll move the payload from checkpoint A now to opportunity to take checkpoint B.
Fire of Mercy now for the Shock, but Tayo is... Well, there's one hit scan in play, but FD God wasn't really able to do too much to help him there at all. Hanbin, notice he's firing off some of those longer range shots here to try and finish kills. Super there, he almost eats it. Primal Rage available for Hanbin. This is where things get scary for San Francisco, and he's going to pop it straight away and go after the Mercy.
You see everything used here on defense to try and contain Hanbin. His FD God just trying to fly around and stay alive, but that's going to be 2 for Hanbin. The payload will continue to move, and I think that's something you brought up that's really interesting, right? Is that when you play Overwatch now, when you're Winston, sometimes you'll dive on a target and you'll put down your bubble, you'll do some damage, and they're able to get away, and you can't really finish that player off safely, right? You have to overextend throughout your bubble. Is that a nice kill there from Sparkle? With the secondary fire, with Winston able to do a little bit more long-range damage, that you can actually make those kills happen, where you don't have to push outside of your bubble. You can play from inside if you have that aim, right? So adding another skill element to Winston's kit, you're able to finish those kills off. Interestingly
there as well, when you find a kill, it sort of indicates to you to what degree or what percentage of the target's health you've actually dealt in order to find that kill. Sound barrier here for Jexa. Take note, it's green health now. And that will decay, of course, over time, as is the case with his ultimate in general. Jexa, of course, always the Lucio aficionado here. Trade of kills back and forth, but it's the Immortality Field from Violet that kept the shot going. Now that's out of the picture, and Jexa going to return to the cart here to stop this stall.
But you see Lucio just such a menace, right? Being able to use the speed for the team, get in, be offensive. Is Super is 1 HP. He's barely going to stay alive. They're going to keep him up. He's just trying to play outside of the cart. anything to keep himself alive. So the Fuel, the red team, still with an opportunity to push this. That is a filthy pulse bomb there.
Well, Glister was targeting the Ana, and I think Doha just happened to wander by and get taken down by the pulse bomb there.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky, Mitch.
My God. Nice to see a bit of Tayo action here. Hanbin there being hastily topped up by Fielder as there's a nano boost on deck here for the Dallas Fuel as Hanbin looks to try and take control of this high ground to make it so the shock can't just drop down on top of them and sort of select the squishy target in the backline. There's a pulse bomb here for Sparkle now. And he sees most of the shock group together on the high ground. There's going to be an amplification matrix thrown down, but quickly Sparkle goes past it into the backline. Hanbin tried to stay out of line of sight of that amplified Baptiste damage.
Oh, I mean, that is the best way to kind of deal with an amp matrix, right? Just not getting in the line of sight of it. And this is going to be Doha now on the high ground, getting that first pick and then popping the tag visor. This should be a fight that the red team's able to win.
I mean, there's not really anything that can be done to interact with him. The closest thing is Tayo, just to try and pepper Doha from a distance, but the Dallas Fuel have gotten those 2 checkpoints, and they've of course found a time extension after finding that one. So 2 minutes and 15 seconds to try and get as far as they can through this power plant.
And you still see a lot of the same power positions still be power positions, right? I think it's just allowing the teams to get a little bit more creative in terms of, you know, opening up more lanes for DPS, right? Allowing tanks to be a little bit more offensive without, you know, worrying of a team fully collapsing on them. And see Super right there on the high ground. He's able to pick up a kill, and this is something you never really see Winston able to do. Well, what he can't now is to kind of poke at range, right? Usually a Winston to do anything from that would have to get right back into the thing of things, but you can just play a little bit at range there and do some damage.
Yeah, much like the alternate fire on May's endothermic blaster, it's going to use sort of a larger amount of your ammunition and force you to sort of reload, but Hanbin out doesn't have to reload these fists. He gets hit with everything there. Tayo's trying to chase him there with a tactical visor. Hanbin able to evade him for the most part, but eventually he's going to be brought down by the Soldier 76. And look, this is Dallas that are sort of playing off of the cart here. Only 4 players alive. Sparkle has a pulse bomb and may not have to use it here as FD God lingers a little too closely in his field of view for some time. Glister used his pulse bomb though and does find the target of Fielder.
Yeah, and they ended up using the red team, their sound barrier, because they know how difficult this part of the map is actually tough to get through. It's so difficult to get underneath that choke, get underneath that bridge and make its way through. And some changes here is that'll be a brig that comes in for the Dallas Fuel, the red team, is Jexit wants to really try and stop Glister from flanking, also Tayo.
Great fighter grenade there from Violet. That's absolutely perfect. We're going to look there at the Sombra play from Tayo and sort of going for hacks and not being revealed. That's filthy stuff from Super there to find 4. And Tayo, obviously, yeah, he hacks, doesn't get revealed, or at least he does for a split second, but he's able to sort of mostly stay in stealth. He's revealed there by a melee hit from Doha who spots him, and Tayo has to get out with a translocator.
And you see those like individual big plays are now even bigger, right? In Overwatch 2, like a biotic grenade right there, able to finish them off. It's going to be a nano boost here on a Super. They're trying to hold on defense.
Yeah, good defense by the looks of the shock, and Fielder can't do much at all about that. There it is. Super actually finds a kill with this longer range shot from the Winston. Looks like a scatter arrow on the kill feed, but it's pretty darn effective in the game itself. That's 2 for Violet as well, and Hanbin is the last one standing. Overtime will be short-lived by the looks of things here as Hanbin is knocked out of his mech, and that will be the round. 2 checkpoints and about 43 meters of progress for the Dallas Fuel here.
Yeah, so pretty good offense there from the red team. Like I mentioned, it's very difficult to get the cart past where it is here underneath the bridge and kind of push towards that last moment. And I think they realized with how much time they had on the clock, it's kind of like, wager, like, do we have enough to get over the line even at the end, where they had to use the sound barrier there, because if they don't take it there, they're in a lot of trouble to not even complete the map.
Now we get to see the San Francisco Shock go on the attack, right? I'm curious to see how they try and get around that kind of oppressive high ground control that defenders get on this first part of the map. And obviously that way they're able to use Winston to drop down without having to, use his, his jetpack, and then he can go back up to safety. For the Dallas Fuel, though, so Doha on the Soldier 76 here, and will be Sparkle's Tracer, so not huge changes at all. This is, in my opinion, kind of the comfort picks for everybody on this team.
Well, and then you also see the D.Va come in, right? As D.Va as a solo tank. And just kind of the way that solo tank kind of it really will change over time. is, she has great defensive capabilities for herself and the team with Defense Matrix.
Oh.
And she's also one of the best. We're going to get a Roadhog action here.
They're going to TP the Roadhog and try and find an early pick here.
The D.Va can also really duel almost any hero in the game, right? Really good one-on-ones.
Oh! That is filthy. I mean, you have an idea, right, that someone's going to be playing on one of those buildings. Super has a split second to sort of, make sure someone's actually up there and find them. Little gimmicky, Matt, but it pays off for they find a kill on the enemy Tracer, which is huge.
And how I mentioned, D.Va has great defensive capabilities with like Defense Matrix and mobility.
Yeah.
Roadhog's main defensive capabilities is just his body. Just kind of blood. It just kind of takes up space with his body.
That's the same for walruses in the Arctic Circle, man. That's acceptable.
I don't know anything about that, so I'm just going to trust you on that one.
Well, Super finds another hook there. Sparkle's dropped into the back line, though. He's starting to put a little bit of pressure on Violet, and Hanbin joins him. That sole tank for the Dallas Fuel, assisting with the dive right now. Thinking less about being supportive and defensive, and more about following Sparkle into the void. And it pays off. This dive from the Dallas Fuel in a 5v5 format looks even scarier.
Yeah, and being able to see Hanbin here play the D.Va, it's just so much mobility, able to control the high ground. You see, you're really trying to play around. I know if you're the Shock, really Super's Roadhog here, trying to get the picks just like how they did early on. They weren't able to capitalize on it, though.
Hanbin there is a little low, but he's going to try and occupy that area above the bridge. I mean, there needs to be a lot of healing here. Look at all the damage coming Hanbin's way. He's going to be desuited now. That leaves the Dallas Fuel without any real durability or front line, but it won't matter because the Pulse Bomb's going to find FD God, and the Immortality Field is removed after the fact. Doha helping out there with the Tac Visor to remove that Immortality source.
Yeah, and this is going to be a whole hog from Super, is trying to just pick up any kills. Right there, he had to take a breather, so maybe if he was able to get that off, he would have lived a little bit longer as Roadhog, one of the hardest heroes to take down in the game. But we're going to see Super switch off. He's going to be playing the Reinhardt. So Reinhardt gets more offensive capabilities here in Overwatch 2, being able to control his charge a bit better and the extra fire strike.
Nice setup there. The Vita Grenade made it impossible for Doha to be denied there. That's a beautiful point-blank Helix rocket connection as Tayo tries to blink across the gap at him. And well, the Dallas Fuel look absolutely frightening right now. Not much progress to speak of for the Shock, and they've got a long way to go.
It has been difficult for them to make any progress, right? You see, like, on all these split off one-on-one engagements, and they kind of coalesce, and a few players left for each team. They kind of come together in a team fight, and Dallas has just been so good at these.
Jackson, nice work. Swings into the doorway to make sure his team benefits from that sound barrier. I guess it's a little bit easier to make sure the whole squad gets a sound barrier now, but Jexa could have done it if it was difficult, surely. A lot of pressure on Super here. Even though Reinhardt has that power steering installed, right, that we've seen, he can, obviously corner much more easily. He can turn during that charge. He still lacks a little bit of mobility when you're being pressured down by Lucio.
And right there, I mean, just an incredible play, obviously, from a lot of the players on the red team, Dallas Fuel, but Fielder doing a job healing the entire team on the Ana, and then Sparkle with another pulse bomb. But if you caught it there for a second, he actually sleeps Tayo coming around on the Tracer. So an Ana who's able to make plays like that, it's going to be even more impactful for your team.
Fielder play for the high ground now. He's waiting for a biotic grenade vertically here. Yep. Nasty stuff. He gets 3, and Super especially is going to be affected. He'll drop down because he knows the rest of the Dallas Fuel were joining him in that 4-8. Fielder able to get actually a safe position, and a parting gift on Tayo is eventually brought down. 18 seconds left in the round, and San Francisco haven't even made it to that first checkpoint for their first time bank extension.
Yeah, and they do not have many ults to work with. Just Super with the Shatter right now.
No chance to use this well. I mean, where do you even use it? Everyone's playing on the high ground. Here's a tactical visor, and Super Shield being circumvented by Doha, who drops into the back line. FD God's been eliminated. His mobility not going to get him out of the aimbot, and Super gets a shatter eventually, Matt, but it really doesn't have the shock and awe factor it had to. Violet wins that 1v1, but he's in trouble, and there it is. Strong showing by the Dallas Fuel. Welcome back, everybody, to another of our Overwatch 2 playtests featuring the San Francisco Shock and the Dallas Fuel. This was shot in Hawaii during the playoffs of the 2021 season. I'm Mitch Leslie, joined here by Matt Morello, who prefers the short form of his first name. Better not get that wrong. And we are in Havana at nighttime.
Yeah, if you heard New York, you understand why. But yeah, this is Havana, obviously a map from Overwatch 1, but completely new lighting, new atmosphere here at night. just it makes it look so like it's crazy. Obviously it looks different, you know, in the nighttime, but it just makes like kind of the ambience and the mood of the whole map feel different, right? Havana, when you play it on live, very vibrant, all the colors and everything, and with the way the lighting is around the, you know, the street lamps and whatnot, it's got such an interesting, distinct look to it here now.
Yeah. And that more sort of gaudy hotel sort of, you know, epic looking building here. The lighting, of course, is much more distinct at nighttime. And again, many people probably look at this taking a while to adjust because you just haven't really thought about what time of day it was in Havana playing all of those matches in Overwatch. And here we are. San Francisco are going to play close. They've got the May, they've got the Symmetra. This is a good old classic spawn camp attempt.
Yes, we'll get a chance here with Sparkle on offense. With a look at the Bastion reworks. So you see he's able to move while in the Sentry form now. Has a secondary fire that's like a grenade. It can stick to players, bounce off of walls. And then also the ultimate, the airstrike. But Glister on the Symmetra. Very effective no matter if you're playing Overwatch 1, Overwatch 2, playing close to the spawn door here on Havana.
And you can see that Immortality field is very effective, even against Bastion now being able to take his show on the road, right? Obviously, Bastion not moving all that fast during that turret mode, but being able to relocate is pretty important here. Out of the gates again. There'll still be a Bastion for Sparkle. Doha switches over to the May.
As that May wall goes up, just kind of blocks some of the damage coming in from the Bastion. So see both teams just kind of posturing now as it's a tank battle you never thought you would see, right? I know Hanbin on the right are going up against Super's Rhine as see how aggressive they have him in. Nice pin there on the fielder. They get right up to the spawner. They're making this look easy.
It's much easier to guarantee those close range charges now because you can sort of make your course correction much quicker. Super easily finds that pin now and has already built up an Earth Shatter. So Sparkle, unsurprisingly, he's going to have to switch to the Pharo, but that amplification matrix means he's in deep trouble. Violent able to find the kill. The solo effort here from the Batiste.
And with the Amp Matrix, it really becomes like another damage dealer. This composition's worked wonders for the Shock, and then they've also been able to hold on to some of these ultimates, force some changes out from the players on the Dallas Fuel on the red team. Is one of the you know, best things that I think we've seen so far is you know, really well heard is how awesome the new sounds are, and the Pharo rocket launcher just sounds so sick now.
Yeah, it feels more realistic, rattly almost, not in a bad way, in a way that sort of makes sense considering just this transfer of momentum, considering you're literally firing rockets. Nice little spawn camp though. I mean, the Shock, they're able to bleed like 2 minutes plus off the clock there, playing very close to spawn. Then we get Glister on the Trace, a bit of a signature look for him.
Well, you know, it just, I think you said in one of our other casts, right? It just adds a little bit more immersion to it because you play against a Pharo Mercy, you know, on live, and obviously it's very scary because of the hero combo. But now when you see that, you know, Pharo Mercy in the sky, and I mean, maybe you deal with it as fast as Tayo did. I know most of the players don't. You hear the rockets just churning now, and it's so much scarier.
Yeah, look, I think if you're playing a DPS, you want to feel powerful, like you're having an impact, like, you know, I guess, you know, the impact you're having is proportional to, you know, the fact that you're firing rockets, right? And I definitely think that that's been captured in a big way here. Doha, this is a classic one from him. The Hanzo Dragon Strike going to go through the store here. Sound Barrier going to be used as Super sleeps it off for the time being. The cart's on the move, and, well, the Shock are in an odd position here.
Yes, this is, I mean, they have pushed all the way up back to the door, right? Past the cart. I think they've really made a difference. Even, like, you wouldn't play this position without, like, the May and the Sim and some other heroes that can be used in a more stationary sense, but with the 76, right? The sight lines are really nice here for him, able to put down some damage at range, and then you have Glister being able to finish these kills off. It's possible.
All right, Minefield available for Hanbin here, but only 20 seconds are left. He's able to get to the high ground now. Where does he drop down? Going to be an amplification matrix and an immortality field thrown down by the Baptiste. And okay, a trade of kills. Sparkle's down, but Violet, the lion's share of healing, is missing now for the Shock. But Glister finds the finish on Fielder. Now, I mean, the Fielder running on fumes. And look at this out of nowhere. It's an RKO from Super. Huge charge.
Wow, I am stunned as, you know, a lot of these games have been really close between these two teams. I don't know how this one's going to turn out here. You know, for the Shock, but they have put themselves in a fantastic position to win here on Havana.
That is I mean, even by Overwatch esports standards, this is extremely potent defense. Yeah, there's so much more of this map to see by night, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, this is the only time you'll get to witness it because, well, the car doesn't need to be moved through much of the map by the Shock to guarantee their victory. So, let us now peruse through this distillery phase of the map.
Ready for battle. Attackers incoming.
All right, so Hanbin on the Diva. Sparkle Widow, that would be nice. Oh, my God, I'd love to hear just how powerful her rifle sounds. The Widow's Kiss, of course. Maybe we'll see it later.
Yeah, it is. Speaking to some of the players that had a chance to go, they love the Widow sound of the sniper rifle. They like, like how I mentioned where the fire rockets really kind of put fear into you. Just hearing those bullets ring out from across the map is a frightening sight. As the Shock look to be running the Bastion here with a Mei, on the offense, and you can see Bastion's change in that primary fire.
Right, so it's like, it's a slower rate of fire, but much less spread. Look at this. You can, yeah, it's like single shot.
Yeah, no spread, I believe.
No spread. Yep. Feels a little more impactful, I think, than sort of just spraying with a less potency, perhaps.
And if you can get an angle like this, right? It's a Mei wall there, almost put it right in front of him, but being able to move, obviously, still a little bit slower, but being able to move in sentry form, you get those off angles, you still do tons of damage.
Yeah. I used to say that playing Bastion was like playing the cello in a marching band, right? You have to keep setting up and moving and setting up again, but now you can do it on wheels. Glister, though, doesn't quite have the torque to get him out of Hanbin's purview, though.
Yeah, they didn't get the immortality field down, right in time, as Sparkle able to control some of the high ground. But you see, even with the Lucio, right, with how they're playing this composition, for the Shock, it's been difficult for them to track down some of the members on the Dallas Fuel because they're playing so spread out, right? It's a composition that really wants to play on the individual strengths of heroes and one-on-one matchups.
There's no Fielder Zenyatta left now, and the field might want to be touching in just a moment. Doha moves up, EMP, bam.
That's massive.
Percent health damage, and of course that initial hack. That's nasty stuff. Sparkle going to capitalize here from the high ground, and Super cowers behind his shield. Sparkle deals with Tayo.
There's no way they come back and do this, right?
I mean, Sparkle has...
he's
not going to bite a kill right now. The attack fighter, he's half HP. 100 HP, and there's a shield in his way. This gambit might not have paid off.
Shield's taking a ton of damage, though.
Moved back, Immortality Field had to be used as a sound barrier, but Glister won't be around to benefit from it. The Transcendence looks much easier to see the area of effect of that ability, and it's enough to force the Shock back for now.
Yeah, now we're back to an even fight, right? Everybody at full strength. What are we getting close to here? You're getting close to the Glister, Pulse Bomb, and the Super Shatter, and it looks like they're going to take a different angle. Look, this is where Diva's really beneficial, right? You can have, Hanbin play the cart, but also has the mobility to get away, and you have the sound barrier available.
Glister, it's a stick. He gets rid of the Soldier 76 and Jexa was very low. That is a game-winning play from the Tracer on the high ground. Self-destruct there, but there's no way Hanbin's going to get back in the mech. It's just Doha on his lonesome. And the San Francisco Shock get across the line. A short-lived stoush on Havana.
Reveal here of some high-level Overwatch 2 gameplay, Matthew. It's going to be Rome, the push map, to start us off.
Yeah, so push is obviously a new game mode for Overwatch in Overwatch 2. It's really kind of like a neutral objective where you have the robot here. He'll push the barricades depending on who controls the objective back and forth. What's really great about this is obviously that there's not many scenarios you can tie. It's also one of the game modes that you kind of find where there's not really kind of an offense and defense, like a hard offense or defense on either side. You're looking at just playing just a kind of completely variable map where sometimes you're on defense, sometimes you're on offense. A lot of just flow to it.
Absolutely. And look, and Space said there's a lot of fighting. It felt like there was a ton of skirmishes going on. A lot of back and forth stuff here. It's going to be 5 versus 5, of course. And we already get to see some of these locks to start things off. We're going to see Bastion straight off the bat, which is great. Also Sombra. So both these two new look heroes with their reworks are going to be coming out the gates.
Well, also a reminder that there's some of the other changes that were in the PvP stream that are in here as well, right? Reinhardt, when he charges, can control and maneuver himself.
He got that power steering, baby.
Yeah, space coming out of the spawn, right? I know, being able to get right towards that choke. and the double fire strike. So some changes there with Reinhardt as we get to the mix. So this is a pretty deadly area of the map, right? A large, long corridor. It's something we usually don't really have like a lot in Overwatch 1. These like massive, long, drawn-out sightlines.
There it is, Bastion on the move. Unreal. We see the biotic grenade thrown in there by Shu. But I mean, the fact that you can move around and have that Gatling gun potential. Now, also the primary fire.
It
It's like
is a bit
short
different.
bursts, right?
Yeah, it's really good in like long range scenarios. We see here from I know Kevster's POV Sombra, right? Used in much more of like an offensive way. Space gets hacked, but you see how fast the abilities come back online, and a nice pin there to take out Closer.
Okay, Space is dirty. Look at the maneuverability that he has. For such a short range charge, he can still connect. So this means that Team 1 are on the road. They're pushing here, and obviously 2, I think TWO is our name for the robot here.
Yeah, so you can see at the top of the screen, right? The blue team is in the lead right now, pushing that robot. When the red team gets control of it, it'll kind of move faster back towards the middle. It's really tied to the team's barricade more than anything. Is Birdring here on the Junkrat on the flank.
And again, we see a lot of people getting hacked by this Sombra right there, but it's for a brief time that their abilities are unavailable. We saw this one in the preview, I think, and yeah, Space is getting a little bit nutty with it. Getting right into the face there of Mag, and even has an Earth Shadow to spend here. Now, these ultimates don't come as easy, right? You're not getting nearly as much ult charge from damaging tanks.
Well, yes, and I also think one thing you do realize right away is how much more offensive the tanks are, right? Where Space is able to get right up and in that area, and you see Mag there, it's interrupted, and he actually tries to go for a shatter, but it's going to be an EMP from Decay on the other side.
Birdring on the Genji, by the way. Nasty stuff. Assassin's already picked off while Mag sleeps it off, and that's the EMP coming out. But Birdring still has, obviously, the use of the dash so soon after the EMP hits, trying to deal with the aggression from Moth here in Valkyrie.
Yeah, you kind of think of EMP now, right, as like a large 1-second interrupt, and then it's really about Sombra getting the damage benefit after that.
Plus that percent health damage as well, right?
Yes, and trying to actually finish players off. So you see that's a nice hack here onto Moth. As he'll end up falling. So Assassin does have this Bastion. We'll see if he's able to get a good use of it. As on the other side, you also see it's going to be Mag with a shatter.
You see in between the barricades, TWO moves quite quickly. So it didn't take long after winning the fight for Team 2 to be back in control of the objective, and now they're starting to move their barricade up.
Just look at this maneuverability. He can't even control it.
Yeah, he's not ready. The hydraulics are just too insane. Mag finds the shatter, knocks Space on down, looks for Assassin who's sleeping, and Birdering's going to go for the blade here. That's 1, that's 2. And almost getting 50% of it, 40% of an entire team with 1 blade is pretty nice.
Yeah, and I think you can see just how, obviously Overwatch, a very fast-paced game, but in 5v5, just the aggression and fast pace you can play at. And I think it's a great point, right? We're used to like 2 kills with a Dragon Blade,
here we go.
A fight being for a very long time. Here's the Bastion ult.
Enemy cruise missile en route.
3 spots down here. You see Mag takes a decent amount of that splash damage. Jeff was talking about it earlier, but able to get healed up pretty quick.
We have a Zarya here, though, for Space. Bear in mind, Zarya has 2 bubbles. She can bubble herself twice or a teammate twice, and that shield of Mags just disappears. EMP gets thrown in there. Moth is awfully low. Skew goes for that little sleep dart. See, Assassin is super low, and Skew's showing us a little bit of that Ana. Very nice.
As he's able to keep everybody charged up. And you see one of the ticks on the top of the screen as the red team is approaching it. That's going to be a bit of a checkpoint there for push. So that'll give them a little bit of a forward spawn.
Changes
obviously.
the spawn location.
Yeah, it would be kind of crazy if they had to spawn all the way in the back, to try and get the objective at this point. Also, just to remind people, this is a different version of Zarya. Zarya has the 2 bubbles on a shared cooldown.
The Reaper guy goes in. The sound of the Hellfire shotguns as well, it rattles, right? Especially in that underpass.
It's something that Space talked about, right? Graphically, obviously, the new hero looks for a lot of the different heroes in this build, but then also just the weapon sounds. It's one of the things where I think speaking to some of the players who have had some hands-on, they're like, man, the damage just feels so strong. And I think it's because there's the sounds of the guns and everything just feel so much more like violent, right? It feels really like more real, I think, than kind of like Overwatch 1.
I noticed the sound playing when one of your teammates is eliminated, like what we hear in knockout elimination, or lockout, excuse me. Look at the EMP. Look at the percent health damage on Mag. He gets blown to smithereens by Kevster after with the damage increase.
Yeah, and it just makes Sombra like an offensive powerhouse, right? You kind of look at players who play Sombra now, really just trying to play more of a team-oriented game. Now it is just way more of kind of almost like playing a little bit of a Tracer version. So the blue team going to get towards this barrier. You can see now they take the lead at the top of the screen. They are in charge.
That yellow line represents the enemy team's sort of furthest progress, so they can tell when they've sort of gotten ahead. Enemy forward spawn changed there. So with that checkpoint now, that changes obviously where the leading team come from. Yeah, this is scary. That's one. That's two. God, the time to kill feels lower. I mean, Birdring is attacking non-tanks, to be fair, but Space also was the first to fall there.
Moth had the rally, but he didn't have it for much longer as Nanoblade, regardless of, 6v6, 3v3, 5v5, whatever you want to play, still so impactful as Space now. See if he can get charged up on this Zarya. Going to have like a Death Blossom plus grab combination.
Right, TWO is pretty much sat in the middle of the map for the time being, but Team 1 lead with under 2 minutes now left. There's the grab. Pretty nice cleanup. Easier for Space to get a ton of charge individually now. He can be self-sustaining.
You can hear the B, man, with the Nano. It just sounds so filthy. That'll be a team wipe here for the blue team as they are still in the lead, just trying to get the barricade even further, right, forward their progress, make it even harder for the red team to come back. Some more changes here for the red team, as I'm sure a lot of these players experimented throughout this. As Birdring now over to the Reaper, Mag on the D.Va. So I know a lot of players, just even of the tank role in general, were a little bit kind of worried. They think about D.Va in solo play, but she's so good as like a duelist, like 1v1, that she's able to really be pretty strong.
And we definitely already knew that, right? That was something that she showcased, in Overwatch for quite some time. Birdring, I mean, this is a much more familiar pick for him. Nasty stuff as Space there gets kind of blown up. Again, it was mentioned, I think Space said that tanks feel like sort of bigger DPSs. They also fall just as quickly in some cases now.
Well, I think you can also see how, like, speed and just verticality is going to end up playing, right? Where, Mag is able to get in a position, make a play, but then also use the defense matrix. That is a nice sleep there.
Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's dead.
That is a nice sleep from Skewed. I'm sure he'll want that one for the highlight reel. It looks like the blue team actually going to try and wrap through the middle of the map. So that's one thing with the objective being really like a neutral objective, is there's a lot of areas to play in the middle of the map that you can just, you don't have to circumvent to go play for a, static objective, like a control or something like that. There's so many different routes you can take, because obviously the robot will take long to get back to the barricade. You can take numerous fights in different areas.
There's a sense where you don't necessarily always want to fight around where TWO is,
you
right?
wouldn't think so.
So
right?
these fights are being taken externally to where the robot is.
So we're also getting very close to overtime. 7 seconds on the left. Overtime will trigger because the red team is behind right now with the blue team in the lead. They'll have an opportunity, as long as they control this, to keep moving the robot forward.
Right, and so there on the score, you can actually see where Team 2 need to get to win the round. You can't draw this really at all, right? Unless TWO never moves, I guess that is one situation.
It'd be difficult, and you'd jinx us if it did.
EMP for 3. TWO just hanging off the barricade. Death Blossom here by Birdring to try and clear some space. Team 2 are moving for the time being, and they're using that to break line of sight, right? Using TWO and the barricade to avoid the damage, but damn, Team 1 got back awfully quick.
Yeah, the barricade gives you a little bit of a space there to be able to move up, almost a little bit like cover, to get in position, and it's going to be the blue team wiping the red team off.